When the wind blows from the south, the residents of Fawcett Street in Blackwell's Park cop the full brunt of what they say is an unbearable odour.
Dreadful, putrid smells.
It leaves you feeling sick on the stomach. It's the last fortnight, it is the worst I've ever struck it, and I've been here 25 years.
Even after the $10 million new works were finished, the smell remained. When residents complained to Hunter Water 10 months ago, the corporation acted, putting hydrogen peroxide and oxygen into the sewage pipes. 2 further pipes are to be covered by earthworks, but that work won't be finished until December.
We think that's the last element in the puzzle, because we'll have oxygen injection and hydrogen peroxide in our lines, and we'll be completely enclosing our inlet works.
Hunter Water and the Environment Protection Authority were on site again today to investigate residents' concerns, but residents fear the problem will only worsen when additional suburbs are brought online. They've called for the corporation to buy the houses closest to the plant to create a buffer zone.
They've increased the volume of sewage coming into it, and there's more to come. And having it so close to the houses is not on.
As more people come online for the size of the pipe that we've got, the detention times actually drop and the odour problem diminishes.
This eco-village near Nimbin is one of several energy from nature homes in Australia which are disproving myths that green housing is unfeasible and impractical. A leading North Coast architect in sustainable design, Graham Osborne, is visiting to show the Hunter region's planners, architects and home builders that the eco-village idea can work here as well.
It is feasible, and we need to demonstrate that. Unless we take some of these dreams and make them into practice, we've got to confront the future. We've got to invent the future. We have to be creative with our wastes. We just can't continue pouring them into our rivers and pouring them into the seas. We're basically not going to have a future.
An eco-village recycles storm and washing or grey water on gardens, uses composting toilets which in turn fertilise permaculture gardens, harnesses solar power and involves energy-saving design. Honeysuckle has been suggested as a perfect candidate for eco-principles to be introduced. Architects behind a project to set up an eco-tourism house in the Hunter say the burbs could become as fashionable to live in as inner city areas are today.
As architects, show them a way to live that's not necessarily boxed houses on the quarter-acre block, and let's look at reusing energy from the sun and our landscape, which we've ignored for so long.
It allows people to live so-called normal lives that most Western people are accustomed to. We just need to be more responsible with our waste, more responsible with our energy and more responsible with the overall visual impact that a suburb makes on the natural environment.
The seminar on sustainable design will be held at the Islington Bowling Club tonight. Joanne Shoebridge, NBN News.
It's placed underneath it. And we take blood pressures to fill one leg, fill the other leg. And in fact, one of the advantages of this is that the legs can be shortened to allow smaller people pumping air into it. And
I knew a girl like that one. Just put an arm up the leg of it, you can feel it, and the amount of pressure goes on.
thought that the second time I'd do the walk, walk, walk and change. I do it twice a month.
While it may not be the average classroom setup, these students, who are all primary and high school teachers, are still taking one step at a time when it comes to learning. Dance is one of 4 areas covered in the Creative Arts Conference being held at the Newcastle Workers Club. Drama, music and visual arts teachers are also catered for during 2 days of practical workshops.
We've got teachers as learners for the next 2 days. The focus is on the learning in our schools and the teachers are learners, and that's really very exciting.
Creative arts has become a compulsory part of a student's education, the conference helping to further develop skills so they can be shared in the classroom.
Many teachers discover that they have skills that maybe they were feeling a little insecure about, and they can take those back into their schools and use them with their own classes.
Melinda Smith, NBN News. Palliative medicine, the holistic approach to caring for those who are dying, is relatively new to Australia compared with other countries. But according to some, the concept is a basic human right.
I think it's refocusing us back to the patient's real needs as their needs as a person, rather than taking our focus off pathology. It's not the cancer we're as interested in. We're interested in the person that's got the cancer.
Based in Scotland, Dr Derek Doyle is regarded as one of the leading authorities on palliative care and believes more education in the medical profession will help spread the idea further and faster.
And so we want it right through every medical school, through general practitioner training, through all the nursing colleges. And until the focus is on education and raising the skills and the awareness everywhere, then we can't be satisfied. So there's all that still to be done.
A key speaker at an inaugural conference being held in the Hunter, Dr Doyle has joined more than 100 delegates from across the country and New Zealand looking at future demands in caring for the terminally ill.
We've all, in the Western world, we've got this huge increase in the older people, and we're soon going to have 4 or 5 generations alive at once. And so the need for palliative care is paramount.
Melinda Smith, NBN News.
Yesterday, an emotional rucker told NBN News he was joining the Townsville Suns for at least the next 2 years. Today, there was no ill feeling from a disappointed Tom Wisman, just praise for a man who's had an outstanding season both on and off the court.
I respect Derek's right to make his own decisions about his career, and I wish him well. He's a class act. He's a good person as well as a very good player.
Falcons' priorities now rest with re-signing all their Australian players and looking for a point guard. That search will be expansive, Wisman keeping an open mind.
We're probably going to take the team up to Korea for a little bit of a trip from the 16th of November, and I anticipate that I'll be going to the States after that, so we'll look at, we're talking to a lot of people before then, and we'll be looking at all options.
In fact, the Falcons may need 2 new imports for next year, with Terry Dozier taking up a contract in Israel and unlikely to be back by February. But Wisman said a decision on the second import won't be made for some time. It was a class filled in the final, and with a clean 1.5 metre surf, spectators were in for a treat. Brett Herring, brother of pro Shane, was pushing the board and his body to the limit. Jai Gofton from the Sunshine Coast and Kurt Jacobs from Manly also with a point to prove. But it was the Yamina surfer Dave Nielsen who was dominant, taking probably the wave of the final and with it the $2,000 winner's cheque. Meantime, the Australian roller hockey team has wound up its preparation in Newcastle for the World Group B Championship in Chile next month. The squad of 10, currently ranked 15th in the world, includes Newcastle's Errol Heaney, along with Musselbrook's Alan Fayers and Mike Thompson. And finally, 180 people have taken part in the 9th annual Wickham Bridge to Bridge fun run. While some chose to cycle the 5-kilometre course, 50-year-old Robert Hoare completed the run in just over 16 minutes. Organisers hope to raise more than $17,000 for cystic fibrosis.
It was a red carpet welcome for Premier Fay during his latest visit to the state's most marginal electorate. The Premier opened the Newcastle Aero Club's expanded flying school, named after outgoing President Jack Fay.
I'm very pleased to pay tribute to my namesake, Jack Fay. We think we're distant cousins from ultimately having antecedents in the west coast of Ireland.
But Premier Fay and local member Peter Blackmore realise they'll need more than the luck of the Irish to win the seat. That cause was harmed by claims people in the Hunter may have to travel to Sydney for endoscopy surgery, an early detection procedure used to identify internal cancers. The Minister for Health, Ron Phillips, ordered an inquiry into the John Hunter unit after 10 doctors claimed it was unsafe, underfunded and understaffed.
I'm sure that after the inquiry is completed that appropriate action will be taken. If there is any breakdown in the controls that are there, rest assured we'll fix that up.
Doctors say the unit needs at least $300,000 of improvements. They claim the hospital needs millions. Workcover inspected the unit on Friday and will release its findings this week. If it's deemed unsafe, it could be closed.
I will not make any excuses for public facilities. If they're not up to scratch in any shape or form, then we'll get them fixed.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Sarah, talk to your sister. Okay, and you see the girl? Talking, pointing, hard. Around, and back around, and then down your book. Okay. And now up from your book out to the lake.
It's become an expensive journey along the superhighway, Optus part of a consortium that's invested $3 billion in the project. By the turn of the century, households will be able to tap into a wide range of information and entertainment services. In Newcastle and Lake Macquarie, Shortland Electricity will help provide the link. Optic fibres from an existing network will be joined to independent distribution points, in turn connecting household televisions via a special cable that will be carried alongside overhead power lines.
It'll revolutionise the way people are entertained, what they spend their leisure time doing, and basically what they're able to choose from by way of a broad range of facilities available at home.
And there are added benefits, the service breaking the monopoly on local phone calls.
Well, what it means is it gives us access to something which has not been economical for us to offer hitherto. So through Optus Vision and the superhighway, we'll be able to give people the opportunity to make local calls on a network other than the existing telecom network.
Shortland Electricity says the new agreement gives it a head start in the growing business of energy management through special control devices.
For example, you're coming home in your motor car, you decide that you want to switch on your air conditioning system. You simply phone through, switch on the air conditioner or your microwave oven or your convection oven.
The first stage of the user pay service is expected to be available in the local area within 2 years. Melinda Smith, NBN News.
For 10 weeks, the whale has been trapped in the Manning River. Yesterday, the 10-tonne animal made another bid for freedom. It was spotted near the sandbar at the mouth of the river, swimming in just 2 metres of water. Experts are concerned about the whale's behaviour, saying signs of distress are clearly visible. The National Parks and Wildlife Service has ruled out the option of dredging the river mouth. The Deputy Director, Alistair Howard, says the sandbar has become a mental block, the whale reluctant to cross it after being stranded several weeks ago. With the situation becoming desperate, many options are being looked at, including using a specialised pontoon developed from SeaWorld to assist the whale back to the ocean. Mr Howard says the whale requires between 100 and 200 kilograms of food each day. The risk of leaving the whale in the river is now higher than the risk of removing it. Tracy Walsh, NBN News.
Got in out that truck.
Yeah, there's a woman in there too. She came out as a lorry.
Is this the lady going?
The scene was the same at most of the Hunter's 58 high schools. After 6 years of secondary studies, Year 12 students arrived anxious and eager to begin their first major English paper. While some felt confident countless hours of study were about to pay off, others were not too sure. Today's exam lasted for 2 hours, the paper resulting in a mixed response.
Comprehension was a bit tough, yeah, but other than that it was easy.
Not what I expected, but it was pretty good.
It was pretty tricky. There was a bit of sweat in some parts of it and a bit of coughing and a bit of nerves, but it was fun.
I think I passed the first bit anyway.
With constant changes to the high school certificate, the exam system has come under criticism from many sectors, including students.
There's too much hype and stress surrounding it, and it's just another test, but there shouldn't be so much pressure put on all the kids about it.
While passing the first milestone has brought relief for many students, there's still a long journey ahead. The last test paper in the Hunter set for late November. Tomorrow, students will sit for their second English paper. Melinda Smith, NBN News. It's fast approaching that time of year again when season's greetings are often exchanged through cards. Students at Lakeside Special School near Newcastle are flat out keeping up with demand for their handmade products.
Come on, you can do it really well.
There you go.
Using a small stencil printer, individual drawings are copied onto cards and then packed in lots of 5. The students who are intellectually disabled involved in every step of the process.
Different children have different skills. Some can do all of those processes, but some can perhaps only do 1 or 2 well. But that's the main thing, that they all play a part and we have a good product at the end, and I think they all realise that and they're very proud of it.
At $2.50 a packet, they're competitively priced. Businesses can even have their own messages printed inside. And according to the manufacturers, they're offering one of the best deals around.
It's more cheaper here. Down at the supermarket's about $4 a packet.
The profits from sales subsidise school excursions, while Mandy and her friends help spread a little Christmas spirit.
Goes in one space so that they only take one of each.
Nice and slowly, that one.
Despite another hot day, cyclists set out on stage 12 of the Classic at a sizzling pace. The 140-kilometre course wound from Vales Point Power Station to Munmora Power Station, the hill section starting to sort out the leaders from the rest of the pack. Yesterday's winner, AIS rider Robbie McEwen, wearing the yellow jersey, appeared to be going nowhere in his group. Meanwhile, Dutchman Mats van Heeswyck attacked the incline, leaving behind the cows and the bulk of the pack. Van Heeswyck was the first up Bumble Hill, the toughest section of the event. Then came three of the German team, including second-placed Jens Voigt. The run down the hill saw some riders reach speeds of up to 90 kilometres an hour. With Heeswyck home first and Englishman Hunt second, Robbie McEwen followed in third place. This result was enough to help McEwen extend his lead by 42 seconds overall from German Jens Voigt. Racing continues tonight with the 36-kilometre criterium at Sydney's Darling Harbour. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
It was a special meeting of Cessnock Council called to decide whether to ask the Minister for Planning to hold an inquiry into the dross plant proposed for Curry. Once again, protesters rejected during the meeting. The motion calling for department representatives to come to Curry was accepted by Council. However, Councillor Brian Burston lodged a notice of rescission as the meeting was closing, so effectively Council achieved nothing. With the meeting over, tension in the chamber escalated, with developer Garbus Simonian confronted as he tried to leave. Abuse was yelled at different councillors, with the situation culminating when protester Col Mabry stood on the chamber table. The decision on whether to hold a commission of inquiry will be debated again in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Council will discuss next week its earlier decision to approve in principle the $27 million plant. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
This Year 10 group is one of a lucky 22 selected to perform at the State Schools Drama Festival, and they wowed the audience.
The other night when they performed at State, the director came out and said the audience really loved that piece. It was obvious that they really enjoyed it, and it was. They laughed and they clapped throughout the whole performance.
The movement piece showcases 13 different emotions, but why the chairs?
We basically sort of improvisations around the chair. We just progress from one idea to the next.
Yeah. We'd talk about, well, what other shapes can we make with the chairs, and improvised with that, and then thought about what sort of mood or attitude or emotion that evoked.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people actually get the idea of it, but they still like it anyway. Yeah. Do you do it? Is it to music or is it? Yeah.
This is Visions from the Tropics, works collected from Townsville artists Anne Lord, Sylvia Ditchburn and Margaret Wilson.
Margaret's work is more expansive and shows the broad areas of the northern landscapes in tropical North Queensland and the coast up there. Anne's work's based on the tiering of land and the relationships between people and the land. And she uses sensitive marks to make her pictures. Sylvia actually works from a visual diary, so she actually goes into the rainforest and takes notes, drawings and things like that, and works from them.
On show are watercolours, acrylics and works on paper. They're part of the gallery's effort to explore the impact of climate and environment on artists. On November the 12th, painter Ross Woodrow will hold a public forum to discuss the idea.
He will be comparing painting from the Newcastle region with the paintings that are here. We'll be looking at space, the nature of how the environment affects an artist's work, and of course, being a Queensland painter himself, he'll probably favour this work.
The argument over reduced prize money has reached new heights, mentioned in State Parliament on Wednesday night. But last night, around 140 concerned owners and trainers decided to continue to boycott Beaumont Park meetings.
We're determined at this point of time to hold out for the restoration of prize money until we get some answers to some of our questions that we have.
Those questions turn to the balance sheet of the Newcastle Jockey Club today, the controlling body of Beaumont Park. The owners and trainers allege the Newcastle Jockey Club's costs are far more than surrounding greyhound clubs, such as Singleton and Gosford, which stage meetings for around $1,300, as opposed to Beaumont Park's $11,500.
Now we want to know, why does it cost that much to run a meeting when the neighbouring and sister clubs can run, let's say, a lean and mean meeting? Why are these expenses so high?
The NJC refutes the allegations, claiming their meetings are far bigger than the clubs mentioned and they do not rely on voluntary labour.
So all these things add up to quite a different cost structure compared to, say, Maitland or Gosford. And I think, if we're compared to Gosford, I think that's most unsatisfactory.
The club did welcome the idea of a mediator in the dispute, which appears a long way from a resolution. Owners and trainers will again picket tomorrow's meeting at Beaumont Park, which has been reduced to 4 races.
With a large Greek population in Australia, churches across the country were filled, honouring the Greek National Day. On the 28th of October 1940, Greece entered the war, fighting against Italian fascism. Today, in the Newcastle suburb of Hamilton, hundreds of people mourned the loss of lives in that war. Flowers were laid in remembrance, and although these people live thousands of kilometres away from Greece, they will never forget the war heroes. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
One's down in the middle of the track and a couple of rolls too. That was pit there, the New Zealand. Oh, one up and over. Oh, that's a nasty incident in the first the main straightaway as a charger. Drivers will see if there's any bumps. Oh, there's one over into the fence. A couple. Away very quickly from the restart was the driver in car number 31, and that's David. Oh, one up and over. Over she lead. Oh, there's one in the fence. Yes, had to have a 1, 2, 3 times over. Goodness gracious, that was.
For the past 12 months, Mud Creek has been slowly dying. In the past few weeks, it's become critical.
The creek is actually dead. All the fish are dying.
The decline of the 2-kilometre creek started last year, when the Toronto sewage works started to carry effluent via pipes to Lake Macquarie instead of through the creek. The waterway was blocked off, the lack of water flow reducing it to a stagnant, smelly swamp. Thousands of fish have died, the rest are struggling to survive. The combination of decaying fish and the hot weather has created a stench that hangs over the entire suburb, and residents say the smell is even worse than the sewage that used to flow through this creek. A Hunter Water Board test today confirmed what residents already knew. The creek has just 1/10 of the oxygen needed to sustain life. That's been known for more than a year, but the Council, Water Board and Public Works have failed to act because of questions about the ownership of the creek. That's now been resolved, and Mayor John Kilpatrick says the creek could be dredged and unblocked by the end of the year, at a cost of nearly $500,000.
I would hope weeks. I mean, obviously there's a problem there. No one likes to see the fish life in the lake depleted. So if we can make it weeks, that's what we'll be working towards.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.